Good morning, everybody. I'm Lucy Wildman, and I'm the Senior Industry Partnerships Manager here at Intrepid in London. So I'm here today to talk to you about encouraging responsible travel and how Intrepid play a big part in this. So for some of you that know us, Intrepid very much has responsible travel at the core of what we do. So it's embedded throughout the business and really stems back to when Intrepid was born in the 80s. So our owners, Darren and Manch, they were travelling overland out in Africa, and they had a bold idea to build a travel company that benefited both the traveller, but also the communities they visited. And ultimately, Intrepid was born. So as time has gone on, responsible travel has become more and more important to Intrepid. And I'm going to talk you through a few of the ways we are doing this. But before we dive into this, I just want to take you through a few of the before I dive into the initiatives, I just want to take you through a bit of an overview of who Intrepid are for those of you that might not know us. So, who are Intrepid? So we are ultimately a small group adventure company offering over 1,000 trips in 100 countries and across all 7 continents. So we've got 3 main ways that we travel. So we've got the small group adventures, we've got our tailor-made, and we've also got our urban adventures, which is the local day tour program. So the small group adventures is our bread and butter, and we've got over 1,000 trips, and these are small, so they are based on 12 to 14 people. So your travellers can really go where the big groups can't. So being a small group is the perfect way to connect with people on the trip who are like-minded, but it's also a great way to connect with the destination that you're going to. So all of our trips are also all about the immersive experiences as well. So the real magic happens when you get off the beaten track. We're able to delve deeper into the culture, finding places that you couldn't necessarily find in a guidebook or on a Google search. And this is all helped by the fact that we use local leaders. So all of our leaders, they have to be from the destination that they're touring in. So their knowledge is first class, and they're really there to make sure that that immersive itinerary comes to life. So for us, it's more than just seeing the world. It's about experiencing it. It's about traveling in an enriching, sustainable way, but doing it in a responsible way. So I'm going to just play a short video now, just so you get a bit of a snapshot of what Intrepid is all about. Great. So hopefully that gives you a bit of a snapshot into what Intrepid's all about. So today we're here to talk about encouraging responsible travel. And since the very beginning, we've seen travel as a force for good. So over the last 30 years, we're proud to be one of the world's largest purpose-led travel brands, and we're B Corp certified, which I'll touch on a little bit later. So we're here to give back and have a good time doing it. And we're on a mission to create positive change through the joy of travel. So let's have a little look at the work we're doing to make a difference. So just want to touch on our decarbonisation plan. So as a tourism business, we have a front row seat to the global climate crisis that is unfolding in iconic natural areas and destinations across the world. So in 2005, we kicked off a company-wide effort to measure, reduce and offset all the emissions generated by our trips and global offices. So we became carbon neutral in 2010, which was great. But for us, this wasn't enough. We know as a business, it's our responsibility to help preserve the planet for the next generation of travellers and the communities that call these places home. So in 2020, we decided more needed to be done, and we declared a climate emergency. So we were the first global tour operator to do this. And by declaring a climate emergency, this meant that we created a 7-point commitment climate action plan featuring verifiable science-based targets. So what this plan means is that we are committed to creating environmental benefits by removing additional carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and decarbonising our business by reducing emissions from our trips and global operations. So The ways that we've been doing this as part of our decarbonisation plan is thinking about lower carbon transport alternatives and just generally how somebody travels. Excuse me. So, um, what we try to encourage with our clients is can they be more meaningful when they travel? And what we mean by that is do you take multiple trips a year? Do you take multiple flights a year? Could you actually maximize one holiday and build much more into that trip? Could you look at taking less indirect flights and take direct flights instead? Or could you just try and remove the flights completely? So if you're in a destination and there's an option to take a lower carbon transport alternative, so traveling by rail or another means of public transport, could you do that instead? So where Intrepid has come into their own on this is that we've committed to removing flights under 90 minutes from our trips and replacing these flights with less carbon intensive options where viable. So things like introducing rail instead. So last year we introduced our own dedicated rail theme. This doesn't mean that we didn't have rail in our itineraries. We absolutely did, but we've decided to create this as a standalone theme. So for us, traveling by rail allows a slower pace of travel. It creates that opportunity for more local interactions, so having that immersive experience. But at the same time, it all helps kind of lower the carbon as well. We also introduced some non-flight itineraries, so using Eurostar going out of London. So the whole itinerary is just based around rail. So all of this links back to our global decarbonisation strategy and plan. What else did we do? So we've also introduced carbon labels. So since we declared the climate emergency, we've added carbon labels to over 800 of our trips. So you'll see on the screenshot underneath the map, there's a little box. And in there, that is our carbon labeling. And this informs consumers of the impact of a product or service that it has on the environment. So think of it a bit like a nutrition label, but instead we're providing you with a CO2 kilogram number. And this allows customers to make better informed decisions. So the way we go about adding these is that we take the total emissions. The total emissions are basically calculated by identifying the different components to the overall carbon footprint. So we'll look at things like the accommodation, we'll look at things like transportation, the food provided during the trip, the activities in the trip, but we'll also look at the local operations office and the waste and their office emissions. We add a 15% contingency to each trip's total emissions, just to take into account anything that may have unintentionally been missed. So we've done this as a way to educate, but also inform. We also created an open source guide to carbon labelling and emission modelling, which we've published, and we've done this so that we can help educate other tour operators to do stuff that we're doing as well. So, B Corp certified. Touched on this very briefly earlier. I'm sure a lot of you have heard the word B Corp. Some of you will probably know loads about it, and there'll be probably some of you that just don't know what B Corp is. So, we've always been about balancing profit and purpose, and in 2018, Intrepid joined the B Corp community to certify our commitment to using business as a force for good. We were the first travel company to become a B Corp, which we're extremely proud of. So I'm sure you're wondering, what is a B Corp? So B Corps are a new kind of business that creates benefit for all stakeholders and not just shareholders. They meet the highest standards of verified social environmental performance, public transparency, and legal accountability to balance profit and purpose. So being a B Corp means we're really dedicated and accountable than ever to being better in ways that matter. So it's not only our official pledge to be a responsible business, but also to use travel as a force for good in the world. So being a B Corp, to go through the certification process is a really rigorous process. It's not just a couple of tick boxes. It's not a little survey. All aspects of your business are really analysed. So it's a really rigorous process. And we're really proud to be part of this community. And we are part of the community along big names like Patagonia, Ben & Jerry's, and ultimately all of these businesses are really thinking about the greater purposes of business and not just thinking about their balance sheet. So we're very excited as well because at the end of 24, we were recertified, and this actually has meant that we got a brand new score, a very high score, and we've now been named among B Corp's best for the world. So, other ways we encourage responsible travel is by thinking about how you can be when you're on the trip. So in our trip notes, we do kind of detail lots of information around like packing lists and how you can be once you're in a destination. And having a local guide really helps because these local guides can get you to these local communities. They can take you to local shops. And what's just really key is making sure that you keep that tourism money that you're spending in that local environment and in that local economy. So think about going to local restaurants, think about staying in local accommodation rather than necessarily some big chains. Just think about how you can go about supporting local communities. So we really think about this when building our Intrepid trips so that we have like local initiatives, local experiences. We also do things where we try to push eating plant-based food where possible, not for everybody, which is absolutely fine. But eating plant-based foods generally has a lower carbon footprint than animal-based foods. So we've got a trip theme, which is called the Real Food Adventures. And on all of these trips, we include at least one plant-based meal, and that is using locally sourced food, fruit, veg, nuts, seeds. And it's just a way for us to be able to promote and support sustainability at a local level. So, our itineraries are packed full of immersive experiences and not necessarily your kind of traditional tourism products. We will absolutely do the highlights, but being a small group, we're able to get off the beaten track and do things a little bit differently. But what's really important for us is that we invest in local people and experiences that give our travellers a deeper insight into real life in the destinations we visit. This also allows creating economic opportunities in the place we go, so that tourism money goes back into that local economy. And it helps to share their stories with people from all over the world. So we're focused on three key areas here when it comes to experiences. So we've got community-based tourism. So community-based tourism gives travellers the chance to engage with and contribute economically to the communities they visit. So we've got a number of these experiences within our itineraries, and it just allows you to get an authentic taste of local life and local culture and heritage while ensuring the benefits of tourism stay with people who actually live there. Another focus for us is around diversity and inclusion. We recognise that there are underrepresented people in travel, and we're committed to changing that from who benefits economically to who tells the stories and ultimately who gets to travel. The final one is reconciliation. So we're committed to working with Indigenous communities, businesses, and partners around the world. And this is very much represented in all of our trip itineraries. So these experiences are all about having a great time, having the best time, but also thinking about that positive impact that you're leaving behind in that local destination. So, we also encourage clients to think responsibly around packing and also what they're buying. So we've obviously touched on, how you can eat locally, how you can shop locally, but also think about what you pack. And this obviously bubbles down to things about reducing waste and plastic. So in our packing trip notes, we will always encourage somebody to bring a reusable water bottle. We would always encourage bringing reusable bags. Leave plastic bags at home. Don't use plastic bags. Just have a reusable bag. And actually, on our Intrepid trips, everybody will be given a tote bag on day one, and they can be used for their shopping. It could be used for their dirty laundry, whatever you want to use it for. And on one of our trips, the Vietnam Express northbound, as part of the trip, the group will actually visit the Green Life Centre in Ha Long Bay. And they're here, basically local women. They take plastic, which is washed up in the bay. That might be plastic bags, it could be bottles, it could be marketing banners, and they upcycle it and turn it into tote bags. So as part of the trip, you actually get to see firsthand how one of these local initiatives is working. So we're really big on encouraging people to think about what they pack and what to just leave at home. You know, if you can leave behind plastic bottles, you know, whether that's shampoo, conditioner, any type of toiletries, bring a bar of soap instead. So just really think about kind of how you can be responsible before you've even got into the destination. So, being a small group also allows intrepid travellers to get off that tourist track, but also really see destinations in a different way. So we know that certain destinations are becoming, more over tourist, and we like to try and highlight how you can see these in different ways. So like I said, being a small group means that you can get into these different areas, and they're still beautiful and they still give you that wow factor, but it's just seeing it in a different way. So a couple of examples is Vietnam. I'm sure everybody thinks of Ha Long Bay. And absolutely, we do still visit Ha Long Bay, but on a few of our itineraries, we now instead go to Lan Ha Bay, which is one of the bays within the Ha Long Bay region. It's equally as beautiful, if not more beautiful, but it is way less tourists in the area. So it's just a real good way to kind of just diversify how we travel in these areas. Also, places like Crete, Portugal, I'm sure we think of these as being, you know, heavy on tourists visiting them. And in Crete in particular, we really like to try and highlight how you can see that in a different way. It's not just a fly and flop. There's so much more to the destination. You can go there, you can hike in the White Mountains, and we just really try to highlight how you can see things in a different way. So, animal welfare also plays a huge part in being a responsible traveller, and Intrepid do actively discourage clients to participate in activities that exploit or harm animals. So we've teamed up with an internationally recognised animal welfare non-profit called the World Animal Protection, and we joined with them to create a policy that guides how we conduct animal experiences and interactions on our trips. Our trips will still give you those unbelievable wildlife experiences. You'll be able to observe wild animals in their natural habitat. I've been lucky enough to do this myself. I've been on a couple of our Africa trips. Absolutely amazing just to see these animals in the wild. So you'll still get this, but we just really want to ensure that it's being done in a responsible way. If we include visits to places like animal sanctuaries, we ensure they're operating in the animal's best interest with the highest animal welfare and conservation standards possible. So just thinking back to B Corp, which is around kind of balancing profit and purpose, we also made a decision a few years ago to remove elephant rides from all of our trips. This was a conscious decision that we made. And we knew that doing this would mean that we would probably lose some business, then it would go elsewhere. But ultimately, we knew it was the right decision, and it was a conscious decision to do this. So again, it's just always thinking about that balancing profit and purpose. So I just want to also quickly touch on our Intrepid Foundation, which is our not-profit. So this was born in 2002, and it's basically a way to allow travellers to give back to the communities that they visit. So we know that Intrepid travellers like to travel a little bit differently, and they travel with purpose, and they also want to give back to the communities that they visit. So the Intrepid Foundation empowers travellers to make real impact to the communities they visit, and this can be done through fundraising, through donations. We can also do this through bigger appeals, so things like the Morocco earthquake and the Nepal earthquake as well. So Intrepid covers all administrative costs. So 100% of the donation goes to the Intrepid Foundation and goes to that chosen cause. So since 2002, we've supported over 160 different communities, and we've raised more than 16 million Australian dollars, which has then been distributed out to these different communities. So we work really closely with, specially picked partners. We don't just work with everybody. We really carefully choose who we want to work with. So we're currently working with just over 45 different partners across 30 different countries. And the partners are making that these partners that we choose, there's kind of 4 key areas that we focus on. So protecting the environment, taking a stand for wildlife, addressing inequality, and supporting local communities. So it's a really great way just to be able to give back. And on lots of these trips as well, there'll be opportunities to see some of these communities as well. Okay. So we're just coming up to the end of the presentation. So I just want to kind of bring everything together that we've discussed today, because I appreciate that that's a lot to take in. But ultimately, it's really just thinking about how you can go about being a responsible traveller. And booking with a purpose-led tour company like Intrepid really will take the guesswork out of responsible tourism. We really highlight what we're all about, and that responsible travel and sustainable travel is at the core of what we do. And like I said at the start, this is embedded throughout the entire business. So if you've got a client that is, really big on wanting to do responsible travel and giving back, we would really recommend that you take a look at operators' climate initiatives. Do they have an animal welfare policy? What are their responsible practices, and how are they kind of promoting that? Look out for a B Corp certificate. That is a key way to know that somebody is planning to balance profit and purpose as well. So that's all we've got time for today. But if anyone's got any questions, do please pop them into the chat. It's been great chatting to you all today.